What happens when a white boss fires the black engineer who keeps the plant alive? Right before the alarms wail. Those 7 lost minutes become his longest hour. What he asks next changes everything. The morning started with me doing the one thing folks never expect from the man who keeps the building from burning down. I brought in fresh peach cobbler cups for the third shift crew. Gloria, down in sanitation, had been up all night. I knew that look in her shoulders because I have worn it since Reagan was on TV. I set the tray by the time clock, wrote, "For y'all, eat first, argue later," and watched those tired faces soften. Small kindness, nothing grand. The kind you do because somebody once did it for you. That is when I heard the forklift cry out. Metal screaming in a way that means a human is about to. The temp kid, in a faded school sweatshirt, was frozen in the blind corner, hands up, eyes wide. I ran. I did not yell. Yelling slows people down. I threw my weight into the emergency stop and wedged myself between the pallet and the rack. My left shoulder yelped. I ignored it. The forks shuddered and died inches from the boy's knee. He slid down the wall, shaking, and I crouched with him, counting his breaths until they steadied. Truth is, I have been in this building longer than most of the paint. I know the way the compressors hum when they are happy, and the way bad decisions echo in the steel. I also know the particular rhythm of Ethan Caldwell's shoes, the boss, hard soles that preach importance in hallways too narrow for humility. He appeared like a hawk that smelled panic. "What the hell was that, Darius?" he asked, loud enough for the morning to hear. "Prevented a medical emergency," I said, keeping my voice calm. "He almost got clipped at C9. We need mirrors on that corner. I have asked twice. Mirrors can wait. You just stopped the line. That cost us 7 minutes. 7 minutes can cost a knee," I said. "And a lawsuit." He turned to the temp, never bothering with the child's name. "Break's over. Get back to your station." The kid looked at me instead. I nodded. "Water first," I told him, "then slow steps." Ethan's face arranged itself into management. "Darius, my office. Now!" His office was the kind of cold that comes from glass, and a man who does not know how to speak without looking through it. He did not sit. He lectured. "You are not paid to play hero. You are paid to keep uptime over 98%. I stood straight, 40 years of my mother's church inside my spine. I am paid to keep people alive. Machines can be fixed." His smile was the kind of thin that cuts. "This is the 3rd time this month you have overridden operations. 3rd time, I kept a body whole. I kept my hands open and visible, because I have lived long enough to know how quickly a black man's hands become a story someone else tells." He gestured at the window, where the line moved again. "You made a scene in front of hourly staff. You undermine authority when you grandstand." I looked at the boy, now sipping water like a guilty man steals joy. "If integrity is a scene, I will take an encore." That was it. A little sentence snapped something in him that had been ready to break. He pulled a folder from the drawer with a speed that told me the ink had been sitting there for weeks, just waiting for an excuse to dry. "You are done here," he said, effective immediately. HR will process your termination for insubordination and disruptive conduct." He spoke the words like a flight attendant reciting exits. Practiced. Painless to him. "Termination," I repeated, quiet enough to hear my own pulse. "For stopping a forklift at a blind corner after you ignored 2 safety requests." He did not flinch. "Security will escort you. Badge, keys, and access code. Now." Security arrived like they always do, confident in a uniform that looks like authority from a distance. One of the guards, Torres, would nod at me most mornings. Today he stared over my shoulder. The other one, Weller, had that posture you only get in America after 1,000 videos teach you that posture keeps you employed and keeps somebody else contained. "Sir," Torres said, soft, "let us do this smooth." "I am smooth," I said, and handed over the badge. State-issued plastic looks cheap in the moment it takes your name from you. They led me past faces that did not know where to put their eyes. The temp boy tried to step forward. I shook my head once. "Finish your shift?" I mouthed. He understood. Dignity is a language you learn by necessity. At my locker, I collected my notebook of schematics. The one I built over 17 years, page by page, like a quilt your grandmother will not let just anybody borrow. My wrench set was a gift from my father. I left it. You do not bring your father's tools into a street fight. Outside, the sun was as bright as it gets when life turns absurd. The roofline of the plant cut the sky into a geometry I usually found comfort in. Not that morning. As I walked across the lot, my phone buzzed with messages from the third shift lead. From Gloria. From my sister, Loretta, who knows everything before you tell her. I put the phone on silent. I needed to listen to the part of me that was angry and the part that was steady. Both were loud. Then a sound carried across the asphalt. One of the chillers at the far end coughed like a smoker. A fault code flashed on the little red panel near the dock door. A 17. Pressure anomaly. I knew that code the way a man knows the timing of his wife's laugh. I paused, turned instinctively toward the door. Weller stepped a quarter step toward me. His hand hovered near his radio. "Keep moving," he said. "Your A-line is stepping into trouble," I replied, voice even. "Tell maintenance to check the suction valves. If the pressure cascade starts, you will lose more than 7 minutes." He stared. I kept walking. The panel kept blinking. Some days, justice feels like a red light no one notices until sirens wake the neighborhood. We only just started. The pressure is rising, literally and figuratively. Stay to see what happens when 7 minutes turns into the kind of trouble nobody can ignore. I drove to my mother's diner because when the ground moves under your feet, you go stand where it has never fallen. Loretta was already there, wiping tables that did not need wiping. Mom looked at my face and did that thing where she touched my cheek like she could rearrange the bad news into better shape. "Tell it plain," she said. I told it. The forklift, the boy, the office, the folder. I told them about the blinking A17 like a bad omen in red. Loretta's mouth tightened. "He fired you because you embarrassed him by doing the right thing," she said. Classic. Mom placed a plate of scrambled eggs in front of me, and then another plate beside it. "Eat the first for anger," she said. "Eat the second for thinking." Halfway through my first forkful, my phone lit up again. It was Jazz, short for Jasmine, one of my apprentices from 5 years back, now a systems tech. I answered. "Mr. Coleman, they cannot stabilize suction on A-line," she said. "No hello. Readings are jumping like a record. I told them about the bypass you designed when the manufacturer was cheap. Ethan said, 'We do not do folk fixes.' He will not authorize a manual override without you. The algorithm keeps trying to correct. It is making it worse." "Shut the algorithm down," I said. "It is not a brain. It is a habit. Switch to manual. Bleed the pressure from stage 2 first, with a slow release on valve B3. Then partially open the equalizer between A and C to share the load. If you do A into B, you will shock the line." She took notes by breathing. "I tried," she said. Weller locked the control room because you are no longer with the company and no one can use your login. They called the vendor hotline. Voicemail. I looked at the clock. 51 minutes since I handed Torres my badge. Pride is a strange tax, expensive and due all at once. I am coming to the gate, I said. Mom touched my wrist. You go do what God put in your hands, she told me. But you go with your head, not your heat. Outside the plant, the air had a taste I did not like. Sharp, chemical, wrong. A small group of workers had drifted near the fence. The A-line building hummed too loud. I walked to the security shack with my palms visible. Old habits. I am here to help, I told Weller. Put me in a room with the console and jazz. Give me 7 minutes. Company policy, he replied, voice flat enough to slide off a table. Former employees are trespassers. I built the work around keeping your roof on, I said, not raising my voice. I do not need the room forever. I need it now. Torres looked pained. Weller, at least call upstairs. He did not. He called someone else. 2 patrol cars rolled up quicker than common sense. The officers stepped out reading from a script written by 1,000 afternoons exactly like this one. Sir, we have a call about a disturbance, one said. I am not the disturbance, I answered. I am the man who can stop it. That is not how this works, he said, hand relaxed near his belt. ID. I gave him my license. He held it like a challenge coin. Why are you here if you were let go? Because that building is a patient and she is about to seize. He smirked like humor would make the air less acrid. Sir, step back from the gate. Behind him, up on the loading dock, Gloria was waving her arms. Jazz, helmet strapped, eyes steady, was talking into her headset like she could will the system to listen. A tech from refrigeration sprinted across the yard and disappeared inside. Then the first white plume curled up from the far vent, thin and ghostly. The small crowd murmured. The officer glanced back, squinted like the day had gotten rude. The CFO's black sedan fish-tailed into the lot. Out stepped a woman I had seen twice in 4 years, always on a stage with a smile that did not touch her eyes. She looked at the vent, looked at me, looked at the officers. What is he doing outside the fence? She asked no one, and me at once. Fired, Weller said. Policy. I spoke plainly. You have a pressure cascade. If the equalizer valve fails, the surge will push back into stage 1 and crack the housing. People will breathe what they should not. I can fix it in less time than we have spent arguing about my presence. She did not answer. Her phone rang. She listened and lost color. The vendor says their engineer is 2 hours out, she told the air. Another plume joined the first. The wind shifted toward the street, where my mother's diner sat 5 blocks away. I felt my chest tighten for reasons that had nothing to do with chemistry. A young woman in a denim jacket had been filming from the sidewalk since I arrived. She turned her camera to me, her live chat scrolling like watered-down glass. This is Darius, she told her followers. He worked here 17 years. They fired him an hour ago for stopping a forklift from hitting a kid. Now the alarms are singing, and they will not let him in. Somewhere behind us, a siren started. Inside the building, a klaxon answered, long and low. Jazz's voice cracked over her headset. We need the manual code, she said to someone I could not see, or this thing is going to burp the whole room. Ethan appeared finally, tie crooked, jaw set in that way men wear when they think the world owes them obedience. He looked at the officers, then at me, then at the CFO, who did not look at him. Darius, he said. and my name from his mouth sounded like a fact he did not want to share. "We need you back inside." I let the wind talk for a beat. The second plume curled into a third. Across the fence, a worker coughed into his sleeve. The denim jacket girl's live count spiked. "You fired me for doing my job," I said. "And you called the police when I tried to do it again." He swallowed the taste of his own decision. "I made a mistake." "No," I said. "You made a choice." He took a step closer to the fence, voice lighter, pride bleeding out around the edges. "Please." The word fell heavy because it had never been asked of me by him before. Not like that. Not with the building groaning like an animal. Not with a live stream catching every syllable. We are standing on the edge of the climax. The next move flips everything. Stay to see exactly how this turns, and who walks away changed. I looked at the CFO, not Ethan, because she understood math that counted people. "I will go in," I said. "But first, terms." Her eyebrows rose. "Ethan Seppi 1, I said. Written apology to the crew for ignoring safety recommendations and for my termination. 2. Immediate installation of mirror guards at C9 and a third-party safety audit within 30 days. 3. Reinstatement is not my goal. You will pay back wages for today and convert my role into an independent safety engineering contract for 1 year. I control emergency protocols without interference. 4. Create a scholarship fund for tech apprentices from our zip codes. 5. These officers and your security stand down, and you walk me to that console yourself." The CFO looked at the vent, then at her phone, then at me. "Done," she said, quicker than Ethan could object. He started. "You cannot." She cut him clean. "I can." Torres unlocked the gate. Weller stepped back, weighing a policy against a visible emergency. The officers relaxed, one of them nodding once like a man reminded his badge is supposed to protect, not posture. Inside the control room, the console screamed a language I had taught it. Jazz stood by the manual board, face composed, hands ready. "I held suction as long as I could," she said. "We are going to exhale this machine like a stubborn child," I told her. I set the manual equalizer to a hair above closed, just enough to bleed without shocking the loop. "Open B3 to 15%. Count with me." Uttered something about urgency. I held up a hand. We counted. Pressure ticked down, too slow, then a hair faster. I rewrote the algorithm on paper first, old habits, then entered 3 lines that told the system to value stability over recovery. A kindergarten lesson most grown-up software forgets. We staggered the compressors, convinced the machine to stop trying to be a hero and become a helper. Outside the glass, Ethan hovered, useless and suddenly aware of it. The CFO stood with her arms crossed, like someone willing to pay for learning. "Stage 2 is stable," Jazz said, voice riding a line between relief and disbelief. "Equalizer holding. Suction at 59. Temperature trending down." "Good," I said. "Now we walk, not run." We synchronized releases, watched the vents go from angry to annoyed to quiet. The plume thinned, then dissolved, the air returning to itself. When the alarms finally relaxed into silence, the room exhaled like a congregation after the benediction. I took my hands off the board and let the machine feel its own weight. We stepped outside into a courtyard of eyes. The denim jacket girl wiped tears and kept filming, because that is documentation. And documentation is how neighborhoods survive rich men's memories. Gloria raised her chin at me. That small gesture black women use to say a dozen things at once. "I saw you. I got you. Keep going." Ethan walked toward me with a draft of a man He did not know how to be. He tried to stand straight, failed, and his shoulders slumped into something human. "Darius," he said, and swallowed again. "I am—" The word took a while to arrive. "Sorry." I nodded once. "You will put it in writing," I said. "For them, not me." He looked at the crew, at Jazz, at Torres, at the officer who was pretending not to listen. "I will," he said. The CFO extended her hand. "Contract," she said. "My office in an hour." I did not take her hand yet. "The scholarship," I said. "It is done," she answered. "We will name it after whoever you say." I thought of the temp boy's sweatshirt, the edges chewed, the knee that almost met steel. "Name it after his grandmother," I said. "She raised him to be on time for a job that almost cost him a leg. She deserves a plaque, long before I do." In the weeks that followed, the audit cut through our bad habits, like a choir cutting static. Mirrors went up. Corners learned to see around themselves. The scholarship fund sent 3 apprentices into classes they could not afford last month. Jazz taught a workshop called Stability Over Recovery and let Ethan sit in the back to hear it twice. He kept coming. Maybe he was learning the difference between fixing a number and valuing a person. Maybe he was learning to be useful. As for me, I did not go back to a badge. I went forward to a clipboard with my own name across the top. I spent mornings teaching line leads how to hear a compressor before it cries, and afternoons talking to community centers about careers that pay the bills without charging your soul. My mother said I sounded lighter on the phone. Loretta said I walked like a man whose shoulders were no longer deployed for defense. People ask me sometimes what I was thinking when I stood outside that fence watching plumes rise and officers posture. I tell them the truth. I was thinking about the temp boy's knee and Gloria's night shift and Jazz's steady hands. I was thinking about the way 17 years can be stolen with a folder and given back with a single word said, "Too late." I was thinking about the choices we make when the building is loud and the easy road is to look away. And I was thinking about the exact pressure at which a stubborn machine finally listens to a human voice that refuses to be quiet.